It can only be attributable to human error.
You're entering paranormal.
He meddled in things that you people. He meddled in
Slug.
things. He meddled in things.
Where will we go next? Just a phantom from another time.
No one, Mr. Mulder.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
That is one big pile of shit.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Daikaiju,
I'm Jasmine May with
I'm Eli Watson.
and you're listening to
Cryptid.
Campfire.
Spooky Edition. Woohoo!
Yes, we do have another spooky edition for you this week. We're gonna jump right into it. We are talking about the Beast of Bray Road.
Ooh, spooky already.
Yeah, I guess I should throw this out there. We have covered dogmen and werewolves in a general sense very early when we started the podcast. I think they're like episode 16, 17 or something like that. We covered them a long time ago in a very general and broad sense. And I remember specifically telling Jasmine and Alex not to discuss the Beast of Bray Road for the one day that we would cover the Beast of Bray Road, which is today.
Today is the day. Oh man, the anticipation's been built, so this is gonna be a good one.
Dangerous Dogmen and Wild Werewolves were episode 26 and 27.
Yikes. Okay, so I was off, but it's okay. Wait, 26 and 27?
Mm-hmm.
We're almost there now. Episode 126.
Whoa!
Yeah, whoa, crazy. Okay. Wow.
What a spooky coincidence.
All right, let's jump in. Bray Road, where is this? I've never heard of this. It's not as famous as Sunset Boulevard.
Oh.
Well, Bray Road is a quiet country road out in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. I have information that says Bray Road itself is just over 4 miles long, situated in Walworth County. Elkhorn itself is 8 square miles of land, and the population is only 10,000. Founded in the early 1800s, made up of merchants, farmers, and lawyers living out there. Bray Road is also bordered by farmland and patchy woods, as well as residential houses, swamp marshlands, and before 1960, it was rarely traveled, but then when the highways were built, it started to get a little more traffic through there. Bray Road is also, I found this interesting, privately owned by a lot of fifth-generation farmers. So, like, you can't just, like, go park out there and, like, hope to see the beast. You can drive it, but I guess you just have to keep moving. Like, you can't be wandering around. So, yeah.
Yeah. Elkhorn, I'll throw this out there. It's got a cutesy little nickname as the Christmas card town.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's this famous square that's used for a lot of Christmas cards. Good place to take some photos. So, I mean, that's really, boom. There's your claim to fame right there.
Well, there's your two claims to fame. Is, hey, we're Christmas card town central, you know, everyone takes the photos here. But also, we have a rampaging monster just down the street.
Yeah. Before we get any flack from certain people, I see a lot of people on Reddit specifically bashing the Beast of Bray Road case because it's always brought up occult activity in relation to it.
Yes.
But I do have to say, those people are not as well informed because a lot of the witnesses of the Beast of Bray Road believe it to be satanic or occult-ish in nature. So I think to disregard that portion simply because you don't like it is kind of just looking at some of the facts, not all of the facts. And, you know, Elkhorn itself, in Wisconsin, really, is just kind of a bed for occult practices and satanic activity. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's crazy because it's like, oh man, this Beast of Bray Road, you know, They're saying there's occultism in it, Satanist. What a load. We just got your ordinary werewolf situation here.
Right.
And it's like, hey, what's better than a werewolf? A satanic werewolf.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. It's pretty crazy. In 2011, for instance, 2 women led a man to their apartment and stabbed him multiple times. I think he was able to escape, but he claimed that he believed it was part of a satanic ritual.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then I can't remember exactly what year. Maybe it was 2012. But we discussed this, Alex, with Stefan, R.I.P.
Yeah.
The
This
the
one's for
sl-
you, buddy.
the Slender Man stabbings happened in Waukesha.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. And then obviously we're friends with Tobias Wayland and Adam Benedict, who are both native Wisconsinites.
Hardcore Satanist, and they're just killing everybody. It's crazy.
And
No.
but I mean, they've done some investigations into the Kettle Moraine, which does come up a little bit in the Bray Road. There's some sightings near the Kettle Moraine, which is just like it's a state forest, I believe, where there's a bunch of weird paranormal activity that occurs there. So I just want to make that note that you can't just disregard some of the information just because you don't like it.
Yeah, right.
A little bit about the history as well about Bray Road. Before it was called Bray Road, there's some speculation as to whether or not it was a Native American trail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you brought that up, Jasmine.
No, I didn't. I hadn't
Okay.
said that yet, but I did have that in my notes. I think it was they assume it was used for trading.
Yeah, I think again, we're not really sure. I mean, unfortunately, all of that would be kind of lost to history now. So I guess that brings us to the local paper of Elkhorn, Wisconsin,
Oh.
called The Week. And a journalist who worked at The Week.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are we not going to do a description?
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, so
Eli really likes Linda. He really wants to talk about Linda.
I want to talk about Linda, but we're not talking about Linda right now. We are talking about what we came here to talk about. This isn't Linda Godfrey episode 126. This is Beast of Bray Road. Okay, so we just discussed Bray Road. What is the Beast of?
Dun dun dun.
Well, it's been described by witnesses in a couple different ways with a lot of similarities. So, like, sometimes it's described as a bear-like creature. Other times it's described as like a hairy biped resembling Bigfoot. And then other times, it's considered to be a wolf creature. So it's kind of like this mix of bear, wolf, Bigfoot-like creature, weighing 400 to 700 pounds, apparently,
Ooh,
which
chunky boy.
is really big. It's said to run and walk on all fours, but also just its hind legs at times. And so it's 2 to 4 feet tall on all fours and 7 feet tall standing up on its hind legs. And it's also been spotted like crouching and kneeling like a human would. Fur is brown or gray, resembling a dog or bear. Body, though furry, looks very muscular. Face resembles that of a wolf with shiny yellow or red eyes and pointed ears. Some sightings say yellow, some sightings say red. And although it has not been seen to transform from a human into a wolf in any of the sightings, it has been labeled as a werewolf in newspaper articles. And it's also, I read on some websites that it's never attacked anyone, but then some stories seem to contradict that statement.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, I don't think anybody's ever.
Cars extensively, but never against people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like not been any real injuries, but basically it acts really aggressive and runs towards people, sometimes jumping on their vehicles, scratching vehicles, and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, when it comes face to face with a person, it ends up like crouching down and backing up and running away off into the woods.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting characteristic about it is that it's known to be a scavenger. So it's not really a hunter. Most of the times it's been seen squatting on the side of the road, like eating roadkill and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
What's crazy is because Jasmine, you mentioned he's like 6 to 7 feet tall. Looks kind of like a big wolf-headed monster. Is I was doing the research and some pictures came up, and not only is he like a scary werewolf type character, he's jacked AF. Like every picture of the Beast of Bray Road, he's just got like 6-pack abs. He's got pecs and deltoids like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty, kind of scary to see, that running at you, glistening in
mhm.
the moonlight.
Oh, indeed. I guess going off of what Jasmine just said, what we were just discussing about how, no one's really been attacked by it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of the Rougarou.
Mm.
It will jump out at you and scare you, but it won't, you know,
Yeah.
go in. I don't know. I don't. To me, it doesn't make sense, but we'll see.
It's
Can't
just
commit.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't commit.
He's just trying to give you a good scare.
That's why, Mothman's dependable. You
Mothman is problematic at times.
know. Yeah. So this brings us to Linda. Okay. Uh, so yes. So as I was alluding to, working for The Week, the local Elkhorn, Wisconsin newspaper in the early 1990s was Linda Godfrey, who many listeners may know. We kind of discussed her. I've discussed her a couple of times on the show, actually, sharing some of her other reports. But this is really the story that kind of got her notoriety. And so she was just kind of going. I mean, I guess it was a slow news week or something, and she was able to write a story based on some, I guess like more unimportant news, I guess you would say.
More of
And that's what,
the local color.
yeah, I don't know, just like stuff that wasn't like, it wasn't election year or anything like that, so nothing really was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when she stumbled upon the werewolf file.
Dun dun
So,
dun.
dun, dun, dun,
It even had it was called the werewolf file, and it was in this like a manila folder that had scratches on it, and it was like stapled back together, and there was even like a blood handprint on the back.
oh my.
Well,
And when she
it's kind
opened
of
it up,
close.
It
spiders
is
came out.
spiders.
I mean, the werewolf file came from the local what's the official title? I can't remember. He local county animal control officer John Frederickson. So, yeah, from what I understand, Linda had just heard of some sightings and she was getting the idea to maybe write something about it. So she went to John Frederickson to ask about it. And he actually pulled out a manila file that had reports in it of werewolf sightings. And so she was kind of like, oh, wow, a county official has a file that says werewolf on it. So maybe there is some, uh, importance or relevancy to this idea. So uh, she ended up using that file to find a lot of people to contact for her article. The people who had reported sightings to John Frederickson are the same people that she called to interview and get information about their sightings.
Yeah, so the how Linda found out about some of these sightings was or specifically the first reported sighting of the Beast of Bray Road was through a freelance writer who she does not mention in her book, does not name. The freelance writer wanted to remain anonymous because she was so close to several witnesses as it became down the line. But and she was worried that it would affect her journalistic standing, I guess, her objectivity as a journalist. So she passed it on to Linda, and through that, they were able to. Let me start over. Yeah, so she passed it on to Godfrey and actually shared a little bit of her opinion that it had something to do with occult activity. But really, it led her to the first witness, Lori Andreezy.
Yes, and Lori Andreezy, from what I understand, when she did her first interview about the sighting, she used a different name. She went by the name Barbara Holt, but then eventually used her real name because I don't. Did the freelance writer? She never published anything.
Not on this, no. I
Okay.
think Linda Godfrey mentioned that I think in the beginning, Lori Andreezy wanted to remain anonymous, but then later changed her mind.
Yeah, because
Hence the fake name.
Yeah, so I just had read something that said, like, the chain of events, as I understand it, was Lori, using the name Barbara, did an interview for some magazine, newspaper, something or other, and then the Sun tabloid picked up that story and, like, sensationalized it and made it a big deal. And then when Lori saw that, she was like, no, 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 no. This is not accurate. So she kind of fixed the narrative and, like, retold, quote, the truth about what she had seen, and, said, that's a tabloid. It's being dumb. The picture's ridiculous. This is what I really saw. I saw something, but it wasn't this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
According to the story, it is 1989 at roughly 1:30 in the morning, and Lori is driving home, and she sees this thing off to the side of the road. Its back is turned to her, and it looks like it's kneeling, elbows up, claws facing out. She's quoted as saying, "I remember the long claws." And it held this chunk of what she believed to be roadkill. She didn't really she couldn't really identify what was in its hands, and she got the idea that it was just eating it. And it turned its head and looked at her, and its eyes reflected the headlights. She describes it as being dark brownish gray with pointy ears and the size of an average man. Andreezy actually went on the record and said that she believed it was satanic in nature.
Well, that sounds like a good conclusion to jump to.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty freaky. I would be kind of freaked out if I saw something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
After seeing it, she spent some time at the library actually trying to figure out what it had been. Like, she was doing some of her own research, but then she ended up calling John Fredrickson, the why can I never remember the title of his job? What is it? Animal control?
I can't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
Animal control. Yeah, the county animal control officer. County animal control officer, John Fredrickson. So she went to him to, report what she had seen and talk to him about it at their office. And something happened while they were in there. Eli, you've already said that she kind of believes it was either, satanic or supernatural or something like that. And it turns out when they were in his office talking about the supernatural possibilities, books started falling off of his shelf, just randomly flew off the shelf.
Whoa.
Yeah, that is pretty freaky. I think, as we'll see, a lot of witnesses believe it to be satanic in nature or supernatural. And I think, if I may kind of throw this out there. I think a lot of it comes down to is no one really can identify what makes it so scary. Just because, like we discussed before already, it hasn't really gone out and attacked anyone. There's no one who's been killed by it that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it just goes away and it hides back either in a cornfield or in the woods. But I think it's just unnerving, or there's just something weird about it in general, that people can't really place their finger on. And,
It's got that it factor.
it's got the it factor. So that takes us to another sighting. This one occurred on October 31st, 1991. It does seem a little suspect that it occurred on Halloween, as there were people wearing costumes, but I think once I share the story, it becomes pretty clear that it wasn't a hoax or just somebody wearing a costume. Doris Gibson was driving, I think she was driving to a party at this point in time, and she felt like she had hit something while she was driving along Bray Road. And so she stopped and got out to check what she had hit. And it turns out she hadn't really hit anything. Instead, she saw something behind her car, something huge. And she said that it was bigger than herself and that it came running at her. And so she ran into her car, and as she got in, the creature grabbed the rear end of her car, but she was able to book it and get out of there. She assumes it was on 2 feet because she could not only see its chest as it was running towards her, but also hear its feet on the pavement. And, I feel like most people would be able to tell the difference between 2 feet on the ground and 4 feet on the ground. They sound different. And she said that it did not look like any dog she's ever seen. And this was not covered in the Small Town Monsters documentary, but she actually saw it again that night.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, she was driving to a party and picked up her friend. And this time, they both saw it. And the other girl saw it first, saying, "Look at that thing." And however, nothing really dramatic happened. Gibson just sped off, not wanting it to get near her car again. And she's quoted as saying that it was a freak of nature, one of God's mistakes.
Oh,
Ooh,
yikes.
that's harsh.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And I think Linda Godfrey actually went out and investigated the car
Mm-hmm.
and was able to see, claw marks on the rear end of the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she said it was consistent with 2 sets of claws.
Right. Definitely pretty frightening.
Yeah, pretty spooky.
Well, I think we achieved our purpose. That was spooky. Thank you, everyone.
No, we're not done yet. We've got more to talk about.
Spookiness achieved.
Wait, are you saying there's more than 2 sightings?
I am saying there's
just-
more than 2
yeah.
sightings.
In fact, I have one more.
Ooh.
This was one of the early accounts. It wasn't covered in the documentary, which I don't know why. This one's really crazy. So this one occurred in December 1990, and with a young girl named Heather Bowie, and she was 10 or 11 at the time, and her and several other children had been sledding near a creek and were on their way home when they saw what they thought was a large dog. Bowie's mother, Karen, is quoted as saying that she being Heather, thought it was a big dog until it stood up. And apparently all these kids were just looking at this giant dog that was standing on 2 legs that was staring at them. And all of the witnesses reported the same kind of thing, that it was staring at them, although the majority of them decided to remain anonymous. And so they started backing away, and then they felt like something was wrong, so they turned and they ran, and it started to chase them on all 4s. And Heather is quoted as saying it was like a dog would run, but with bigger leaps. It got halfway to the house, then turned around and went back into the cornfield. And
Hmm.
so the description, Heather described it as having silver colored fur with brown in it. Its face was shaped like a coyote's, but the back legs were shaped differently. When it stood up, they looked bigger than a dog's or a coyote's, like they could stand up and jump and stuff. So that one was like, whoa, pretty crazy to me.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that's scary.
Yeah, there's actually a good amount of sightings of the Beast of Bray Road. As you can tell from what we've been saying already, most of the sightings happened in the late 80s, early 90s, but there are still recent sightings happening, like even in 2020. Back in May of 2020, there was a sighting, but the one that I want to talk about is from September of 2013. If I could go on and tell this story, if you guys don't mind, because I thought it was very interesting. Um,
Sure,
this
go ahead.
this
Ooh,
one
please
doesn't even
do.
involve actually seeing the beast. So there's a guy named Lee Hample.
Mm,
I learned about him from the Small Town Monsters documentary. So Eli, you probably remember this story. He had been finding, well, he was new to the area, and all of the local farmers were telling him, "Hey, you got the Beast of Bray Road living in your backyard. Like that's where he's seen and stuff like that." So he kind of did like an experiment. He had found a dead raccoon, I think it was, and just put it out on his property. And he did this a couple of times. He would find roadkill and take it out to his property, and would either find that the body of the animal had disappeared or been dismembered. Um, and so he decided to set up cameras, like game cameras, and try and capture whatever was messing with the animals. And instead of catching anything on camera like the Beast of Bray Road or a werewolf or anything, he actually ended up capturing lights and objects in the sky. Um, but what I
Whoa.
think is most interesting is he had brought a full roadkill deer to his property that he had found on the side of the road and put it out there. And it completely disappeared, like it was gone. And so he went to check the trail camera because obviously something would have been captured, moving the deer. But instead of capturing a creature on camera, the timestamp for when like the deer would have disappeared, so like you see everything before the deer is sitting there and then everything after the deer is gone, but what's in between that is just gray mist. There's a gray mist at the
mm.
bottom of the camera, and so you can't actually see what happened.
Whoa.
And he also found tracks along the edge of the field that looked like large canine prints in the soil, but it was just the hind set, like it was two, it wasn't four. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And a lot of those pictures are available on his website. LeeHamplesHayfields.com. It's just a blog documenting his Bray Road research, and he's got those
Mhm.
images on his website. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's weird a mist taking over. What if it was vampires?
I mean, it could be, huh? Weird, dude. Whoa. What if they don't have a werewolf? What if they have a vampire?
It's the undead.
Uh, oh, I got this. A couple of things Linda Godfrey mentioned in her book. A couple of fun things happened while the story of the Bray Road Beast was really picking up steam. Apparently, a prankster put up a green and white sign that said werewolf area on it on Bray Road, but it was taken down a few days later. But
Oh,
I think they should put it back because that's kind of
yeah.
fun.
I mean, they should put that everywhere. It's like, all right, a school crossing zone, 20-mile limit area, werewolf zone.
Werewolf Zone.
Get in the zone, werewolf zone.
On January 26, 1992, They got a letter that was accompanied by an illustration of a wolfish face, and a letter meaning they, when I say they, I mean the week, which Linda Godfrey was working at. Yeah.
I was gonna ask. I was like,
Yeah.
who's they?
And for those in the audience, a letter is a piece of paper people used to write on
Oh my.
and then put out in the mail, and you would have to wait in real time till it got to you.
Well, they received this letter, and apparently this letter had an illustration of a wolf face, like I mentioned before, but it included information about scientific experiments with genetic splicing. Uh,
Whoa.
and I'm going to read a little bit of this letter. It's kind of funny, but a mouse with a head of a chicken has already been produced under laboratory conditions. Our government, in its great wisdom, has authorized the creation of numerous monstrosities from a chicken-headed mouse to Vietnam and Hiroshima. Where then will it end? Why not a werewolf? Why else has it not been caught or given anyone the chance to photograph it? Like its mysterious counterpart, Bigfoot, could it be the product of genetic tampering?
Ooh.
I know what the Beast of Bray Road is. I know its secret. I know that more small pets of warm-blooded creatures will vanish from the area because people refuse to believe. They have forgotten the old ways and don't want to know about the danger of the new.
Oh
It's
man.
Well, tally that up under explanations.
yeah.
Well, imagine they got that letter and they're reading it. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" And then in the envelope is like a severed finger.
Oh,
Ew. Was the letter signed or was there a return
no,
address on it?
it's just completely anonymous.
Of course.
Oh man, they've forgotten the old ways, the ways of the monsters.
Yeah, I don't know, dude, but what gets me is that is it more pets of warm-blooded creatures? Are you implying that you're not a warm-blooded creature as well? I don't.
What? Oh, what if it's the vampires trying to throw everyone off the case by implying there's a werewolf monster?
Could be. I think you're onto something, Alex. I think we're gonna crack this.
Oh, we got it. We got it in the bag, baby.
So, Eli already touched on the satanic and occult activity that is present around Elkhorn and in Wisconsin. And one of the oldest reported sightings kind of ties into this and has, a more sinister origin. So it was in Jefferson County. And the way that we found out about this story, we meaning the public, the world, is because somebody was, Eli, you said watching the story about Lori and Dreezy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as the story started to snowball and get bigger and bigger, it ended up making local news, and they saw they were talking about Lori and Dreezy's encounter.
Mm-hmm. So this person ended up calling Linda Godfrey to tell the story about his dad who had seen the beast in 1936. So Mark Shackleman was the night watchman for St. Coletta Institute, which was a Catholic institution that took care of people with special needs and mental illness. So on the grounds, they had preserved a number of ancient burial mounds, and Shackleman's job was to, just be the night watchman and walk the grounds at night with a flashlight and, keep watch. So one night he walked up in an area where there were several mounds and he saw something large on top of one of them. And when he got closer, he saw that it was something that reminded him of a canine head, but it was a really large creature digging furiously in the top of the mound as if it was trying to get something out that it knew was in there. And the creature saw him and, as we've talked about already, ran off. So,
Mm.
but the next night, Mark Shackleman went back, and the creature was there again, and it stood up, faced him, and made what sounded like a, quote, proto-human language. And they say it sounded like it uttered the word Gadara, which in the Bible is the region where Jesus cast demons out of a man. So that is kind of where the Beast of Bray Road gets its original satanic, demonic involvement from.
Mhm.
I guess I would say.
There's a lot more uh, with that as well. As Linda Godfrey found out in her book, she mentions at St. Coletta, there was a priest there who performed an exorcism on a child who was there. And afterwards, the demon left the child but attached itself to the priest. And this happened before 1936.
Whoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but also, I just want to mention a little bit too. Uh, kind of in there, it rose up on its feet on that second night. And according to Mark Shackleman's account, I have a quote by him here that I just would like to read. He said it was covered with dark or black hair and gave off a bad, bad odor like long dead meat. Eyes that looked right into me, and it made a sound. It was a 3-syllable growl, low and mean, something like Gadara. But
Mhm.
yeah, and then he prayed, and
As one does.
yeah, he prayed that God would save him, and this creature sneered at him and turned and walked away.
Ooh.
Hmm.
And he only told his wife about what he had seen, and then later he told his son Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe had asked him questions on several occasions about whether his dad thought this was a real, like, physical animal or whether it was just a, supernatural creature. And I guess Mark said that, and I quote, that thing came straight out of hell.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't, it's some crazy stuff there, dude.
Man. What's wild too is just the attribute, the names that get bestowed, because usually, they talk about, cryptids, like, oh, this weird unexplained thing, this hairy humanoid, what have you. And this is just like, hailing from hell itself, one of God's biggest mistakes. This
Yeah.
monster hunting the Christmas card town central.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of scary.
Alex, did you find the 1936 story?
Here's the gist of what I have for the Beast of Bray Road. So everyone knows what I'm working with. The websites, they all use the same paragraphs in various ways, but basically, a Beast of Bray Road was reported in 1936 and the 1990s in a small road outside Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Sources say the attacks include a vehicle making contact, the driver getting out, and being chased away back into the car by a monster with red eyes. One witness says they saw it chasing a deer one time. Sometimes it's attacks in the daytime. That's all the sightings. That's all the info that they give you.
Well,
So,
shoot, man, this episode could have been 5 minutes long.
It's so going into it, you're like, oh, this sounds kind of like a bunch of crap. Like, oh, it's a loose werewolf. But you guys have all this info, the people and the stories and all the info, and you're like, oh wow, this is way more in depth than base base sources is giving.
Well,
yeah, I did
Eli,
see
if
I saw the Wikipedia article. It's like
Yeah,
3 paragraphs long.
it's
So,
insane compared to like the Wikipedia articles for every other cryptid or unexplained thing.
yeah.
Usually there's a little bit more, or they play up some aspect. This is just the facts, ma'am. People saw something weird on the road.
So I have 2 more sightings here. This one's pretty brief. This involves Mr. and Mrs. Bushman. This occurred on November 30th, 1991 at around 10 a.m. while driving along the I-43, which is actually one of the roads that Bray Road is connected to.
mm-hmm.
And so it was a bright sunny day, and they noticed what they thought was a deer being chased by a hunter. The deer crosses the road in front of them, and what they thought was a hunter crosses the road in front of them on all fours, and they realize, like, we don't know what that is.
Oof.
Yeah, it was black, it was scraggly looking, and like no animal Mr. Bushman had seen. And yeah, apparently, I mean, that was real quick. He didn't really get a good look at the head of this creature, so we can't really say for sure, if it's a canine-like animal, but it was definitely something intriguing.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, what do you mean you didn't get a good description? You said it was broad daylight,
Yeah.
but it was running so fast that they barely had time to look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, where are the facts, Bushman?
It happened too fast, my dude.
Well, with a name like Bushman, he shouldn't be in such a rushman.
I have another account from 1972. So Linda Godfrey was actually contacted by a DNR agent named David Jetson, and that is spelt with a G and a J.
What's a DNR? What's the
DNR.
DNR?
The DNR. I'm going to cut
Do
this
not
out.
resuscitate.
Of course.
Department of Natural Resources?
That's got to be it, because it's not. Why is their website not loading for me? Okay, so Department of Natural Resources agent. Yes, David Jetson, spelt with a G and a J. So he got a call in 1972 from a woman living near the St. Coletto grounds who reported she had seen a large ape-like creature walking in her farmyard. And he went out there, and there wasn't like any evidence of whatever she was saying that she saw. 2 weeks later, he got a call again from the same woman saying that the beast had walked up to her front porch, rattled the screen door, and left slash marks 7 feet above the ground. It then went into her horse shed and made a 30-inch gash in the horse's neck and then left,
Oh.
leaving foot-long tracks as it did so. However, no casts were made, and there was no report on the head shape of the creature, so we can't, again, it could be a Bigfoot-like creature, but I don't know of any Bigfoot reports where there's, slashes in a horse's neck or in anything, really. You don't really think of Bigfoot having claws, so...
Yeah.
And the fact that it occurred so close to the St. Coletta grounds, where, as we just discussed, had a history of dogman-like creatures. But that takes us to Tom Brichta. I hope I'm saying that right.
I think so.
So this occurred in August 1992, and Tom was driving with his friend Chris Maxwell to Jellystone Campground, where he was staying, which I think is funny because Jellystone is where Yogi Bear is at.
Hey, boo boo, we got a werewolf picnic basket.
So it was what's weird, what's also strange to me about this is that apparently Chris was in town for a buddy's wedding, but was staying at a campground. And I'm like, I feel like you would want to stay at like a hotel or a motel.
Or a Holiday Inn.
Or yeah, or a Holiday Inn, if you're going to be at a wedding, you want to look your nicest, but no, I guess, camping's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not here to judge. So it was a foggy night, and Tom thought he had hit something, specifically a mailbox. So he backed up, and he had his window open and noticed there was this horrible odor. I think he said it was like roadkill, like the worst roadkill he had ever smelled.
Ew.
And he noticed this hand reaching out of the fog towards the car.
Oof.
And he said the fingers were either pointed or they had quite the nails on them. And it took actually a piece of pinstriping off of his car. He said that the lower chest area or the belly was like level with the top of his car. So whatever this was, it was pretty tall. He didn't get a chance to see the head of this creature, but I think he just booked it and they got out of there. And what I wonder is if old Chris decided to stay camping at Jellystone Campground, because I don't know, if I saw something like that, I would be like, bro, can I kick it at your house?
I don't know, man. Jellystone sounds like a fun place.
Well, I mean, they got sentient talking bears running around.
Trying to steal picnic baskets.
Yeah, they're thieves.
Oh, it should be noted, though, that Tom had heard about the Beast of Bray Road before this encounter.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when he had smelled that terrible smell, he thought about the Beast of Bray Road. So he was thinking about it when it occurred.
Oh.
So I don't know, coincidence, but
What if it's a Tulpus?
it could be. However, this was not the only time Tom would have a run-in with the Beast of Bray Road. So in October of the same year, which is 1992, Brickta was driving with another friend, Scott Friedman, and they both saw, and this occurred like in broad daylight. They saw a creature walking upright alongside a cornfield about 20 feet away from the road. Tom said that its head and shoulders extended above the cornfield, and the corn stalks were about 6 feet high at this time. So whatever this was, it was taller.
Mm-hmm.
He said that this creature turned and looked at them, or snickered at them, and then, quote, like it was challenging us. And then it stepped inside the cornfield and disappeared, I guess, within the
Ooh.
cornfield.
Like in Signs.
Yeah, dude. So it had dark, shaggy hair. Its legs were like a dog's. He described the head as being dog-like. And so this is pretty wild, but he had been contacted by a Hollywood producer about the making of Bray Road, a Bray Road movie. And they wanted to talk to him because of his sighting, and he had just been contacted the day before of this second sighting. And so he called the producer back and was like, yo, I just had a sighting. You got to come out here. Because I guess the producer was out there in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, hanging out with Linda Godfrey.
Whoa.
And so Linda Godfrey and this Hollywood producer went out to this cornfield, like literally hours after the sighting. And they noticed like matted down grass in the area where it was seen. However, this could have been made by a deer or something like that, so not necessarily werewolf. And the ground was too hard to find any tracks. But yeah, pretty intriguing.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yes. Just let me share this last one that I have. And this may be of interest because this comes from Scott Bray of the Bray family. And so this is fall of 1989. He was working on a farm near dusk, obviously on Bray Road, and he noticed a strange looking dog in a cow pasture. He said that it looked like a coyote or a German shepherd, but was larger than either. And he said that it had scraggly black hair with silver tips. He watched the creature back up. It had silver tips on its ears, I should say. Its pointy ears had silver tips on them. He watched the creature back up behind a rock pile, so he armed himself with a stick and followed it. And when he rounded the rock pile, he found out that it was gone, just like disappeared.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
It probably
so
turned into a mist.
it turned into a mist or a bat or something. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I was curious to see what a stick would do against a werewolf.
That's what I was wondering too. I was like, Okay, so first of all, you see like a huge dog, and you're
Mhm.
like, "Let me grab this stick." Like, you're a farmer, bro. I know you got a gun somewhere.
Yeah, or a
Like,
pitchfork, or
or
uh,
something.
yeah, some kind of deadly weapon to use on the city folk when they come to buy your town for the oil underneath it.
Yeah. He did find tracks though, and they measured 4 inches wide and 5 inches long, and they were dog-like. And I did a little bit of extra research and just kind of got more information about typical like dog or not dog, wolf print sizes.
Mhm.
Um, as I remember, Jasmine educated us on the sizes of timber wolves, and they're pretty large. So that's what I researched. And so a timber wolf's tracks can be up to 4 inches wide and 4.5 inches long. So whatever he saw was probably roughly the size of a timber wolf in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where they're not at. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Is it true that there aren't even supposed to be wolves out in Elkhorn, Wisconsin? I feel like I read something that said for a long time there were no wolves out
I don't,
there.
I didn't, Linda Godfrey did not mention wolves as being an explanation in her book. Uh, she mentioned bears, but let's
Mm-hmm.
see, wolves in Wisconsin. It's got wild gray wolves. They're like really rare though, it says. They're
Mm-hmm.
they're endangered species, which I guess 1989 maybe there were more of them, but no, they have a whole county by county breakdown. There's like none in
Yeah.
Elkhorn. There's
Yeah.
none there, yeah.
Well, since we're talking about wolves, do we want to talk about other possible explanations? I mean, we've already hit a lot of them throughout the
Mhm.
episode, but we can do like a brief recap if we want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Heck yeah.
All right. So we already talked about the possibility that it's a demonic entity, perhaps the devil himself.
Oh.
Um,
Ooh.
we just talked about wolves not really being a reasonable explanation, but bears possibly being one. And the whole bear with mange theory is talked about a lot.
Mm.
I get so tired of animals with mange being like the thing that people think is the reason for any type of cryptid sighting.
I know.
It is a thing. Animals get mange, and it's sad because they struggle and they look really unhealthy, and it's not great for them. But yeah, a bear with mange is a common theory, considering that there's weight loss, there's a lack of hair, or it's like patchy hair. So when a bear would get mange, it kind of looks more dog-like, and bears do walk and run on their hind legs in addition to walking on all fours. So
Hmm.
it is possible that some of these sightings, maybe not all of them, because I also, in the documentary I watched, all of the witnesses and all of the people involved say, well, I'm sure some of the sightings were just misidentifications, but there are other explanations. Like there are other, you know, theories. One being that I read that some people tied it to a Wendigo, but I feel like that's something different.
Yeah, I feel like it's something. I mean, we've talked about the Wendigo before.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I
Definitely sounds like a Wendigo MO of a creature that runs away from people after chasing them briefly and eating nothing but roadkill.
Mhm.
Yeah, and what blows my mind about that theory too is, Wendigo, as far as I know, is Algonquian folklore, which is basically thousands of miles away from
Yeah.
Elkhorn, Wisconsin. That's like New England, British, not British Columbia, like Quebec and stuff, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Uh, so I don't really know. You can't just, for me, I don't know. I don't think you can just like appropriate that and be like, oh, well, there's Native Americans in Wisconsin too, so
Yeah.
they all believe the same thing. It's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't.
that's the problem. Yeah, you'll see is people like, oh, Wendigo. There could be a Wendigo in Florida. What? No.
Yeah.
There's also the possibility that the Beast of Bray Road is some type of naturally occurring wolf hybrid that has adapted to run or walk on its hind legs.
Oh
Ooh.
no, they're evolving.
Yeah.
Well, Linda kind of was the pioneer of this theory, the
Mm-hmm.
indigenous dogman theory.
Yeah.
Just kind of positing that, as we were talking about the kind of landscape of Elkhorn, it's just kind of, there's a lot of fields, just naturally occurring fields. And, it might stand to reason that at some point it might be advantageous for a canine-like creature to stand up on two legs, and for whatever reason, you know, that's advantageous, those particular ones, kept reproducing, and eventually you have some sort of evolutionized or evolved canine that can stand up on two legs for extended periods of time.
That like Scooby Doo.
Yes, exactly.
The peak of canine breeding.
Evolution.
The
Yeah, I
canine
mean,
evolution.
the-
Scooby Doo.
he can talk.
Yeah, he can solve crimes. He can eat so much because his body is like burning up the calories at a inconsistent rate.
Yep. I think you're right. I think
Like
all the
Scoob,
sightings.
are you the rightful ruler of the world?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Whatever noise you just made at the beginning of that quote, Alex, did not sound like you. I realize now that you were doing a Shaggy impression, but it kind of scared me for a minute. I was like, "Who the heck is that?"
We're being hacked.
Can you imagine? Oh my god.
It's our rivals, Campfire Cryptid.
If I just may add this last bit, I'm pretty sure Linda Godfrey is the one who came up with the dogman theory. It was like very much werewolves. That was it. Werewolves were the theory for so long, and then they were just like, she was like, "What about dogmen?" And everyone was like, "Hold the phone." And then the internet came out, and everyone ran with it. And as far as I can tell, no one even knows where the idea of dogmen came from on the internet. So
Yeah, she also has said that just because the Beast of Bray Road is a singular name, that doesn't mean that there's just one creature on one road. There are multiple creatures out there with descriptions similar to the one that's been seen on Bray Road.
right, like the Michigan dogman, as it's
Yeah.
become known.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, another episode in 100 episodes, I guess. Jasmine, you had one more sighting, right?
So the most recent sighting that I found happened in May of 2020. There's a guy named Ron Rice who is dropping fertilizer off to a farm on Highway 36, which is just west of Church Road in the town of Lyons. So this wasn't like on Bray Road. This is kind of in a different area, I think. Let me just double check that it's even still in Wisconsin because it might not be. Yeah, so
Wisconsin.
Lyons is a town in Walworth County, Wisconsin. So it is in the same area. Um, he was dropping off fertilizer to a farm on Highway 36, just west of Church Road in the town of Lyons. This was broad daylight, and off in the distance, about 150 feet away, he thinks, in the deep nearby woods, or the nearby deep woods, I meant to say, a figure caught his eye. He's quoted as saying this thing was huge. It was over 7 feet tall. It was brown and hairy with coarse hair. It walked out and picked something up, then turned its back towards me and went back into the woods. 2 weeks later, he said he saw the beast again, and it did the same thing, walked out of the woods, picked something up, and then turned around and went back in. What was it picking up? We don't know. But that was the most recent sighting that I could find.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that he saw it 2 times doing the same thing.
Yeah. Creature of habit.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of people. A couple of people now in that area that kind of research this thing. I mean, you mentioned Lee Hampfield earlier in the episode. But there's also Ricky Sanchez, who had some strange things happening on his property. He's really discussed in this Small Town Monsters documentary, The Bray Road Beast. There's some cool stuff in that documentary. And Ricky Sanchez has had some interesting encounters, multiple kind of eye shine at the end of his property, his neighbors having witnessed some large wolves and stuff like that. So he's got a YouTube channel. It's called Ricky Sanchez. What more can we say about the Bray Road Beast?
Well, I'd like to add one thing, because...
No.
Oh, all right. Well,
Just kidding.
good night. So we mentioned Bray Road. It's a small road. And earlier we mentioned it's actually owned, I think, by like 5th generation farmers.
Uh-huh.
So I found, through my research, there's a maps.roadtrippers.com, which I guess is it's like, oh, plan an epic road trip with this award-winning app. And Beast of Bray Road on Bray Road is listed as an area. And I want to mention this because, well, it has 1.8 out of a 5-star rating, which is pretty funny. And I want to set the record straight, because I think this website is full of lies, apparently.
Okay.
Because it says it's open 24 hours a day, which, I mean, it's a road, so of course. But it's listed as free because it's like an event you can go. And it's like, parking. Yeah, totally.
It says, yeah, totally.
Well, it says there's a little check mark for that there's parking around there.
Oh.
But
I mean, technically there is.
Yeah, but what's funny is one of the reviews is, a description of a cryptozoological creature reported in 1949. It goes on to kind of have the Wikipedia article. But this girl called Dana Newkirk says, if you do visit, make sure not to linger on the road too long, or else there's a good chance the police will come and ask you what you're doing. When you have to tell them that you're looking for a mythical monster beast, you're going to feel very silly. I may or may not be speaking from personal experience here.
I know Dana.
Do you?
Yeah, Dana and Greg Newkirk. They run what is it called? Planet Weird? Something like that? Shoot, I can't remember.
I'm not sure. They have their show Hellier out.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. They're pretty big deals.
Yeah, because then Greg's on here too.
Oh yeah.
And he says,
Planet Weird.
He says, this is a great local legend, and visiting it provides some fun insight into the stories of dogmen terrorizing the Midwest. The road is definitely more populated than you might be led to believe, but it's a neat photo op nevertheless. Be cautious if you do visit after dark. We did, and the police were there in less than 10 minutes to ask us what we were up to. It didn't help that I was wearing a full body fursuit.
Oh God.
So I just thought I was like, hey, look at these crazy reviews, and then it turns out there are people of note in the cryptozoology world.
Yeah, they are. They actually were at one of the events that I went to back in Ohio when I investigated the Mansfield Reformatory with Nick Groff. They were two of the people that attended as well. So we did some interesting experiments with some audio devices and some haunted props and whatnot.
Ooh.
Wild. Huh.
Actually, completely unrelated side note, but I'm going to mention it just because I just talked about investigating the Mansfield Reformatory. So they brought something they call Billy the Idol. I do not remember the backstory. I do not remember the claims about this certain piece of art or whatever it was. I'm sorry. I'm sure you can look it up and find out more information about it. But what's crazy is I took video of this thing and there was no audio to my video clips. And it was only when that thing was present in the room that my videos did not have sound.
What?
Whoa.
So that was pretty interesting.
Spookiness achieved.
Fun paranormal side note.
How intriguing. Wow. But speaking of fun things, you know what else is fun?
Ha.
Pop culture.
Woohoo!
Of which there is not much for this one.
Yeah, no, not really. Uh,
What?
and why is that?
Well, I mean, before we talked about all of the demonic stuff, I asked the same question. I was like, "Gee, why isn't this Beast of Bray Road celebrated like Mothman or the Hodag?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's because it's satanic. Maybe that's why."
Yeah. Yeah, apparently it's quite divisive within
Mhm.
the Elkhorn community.
I mean, I did read that in the height of the media frenzy of the 90s that t-shirts were sold and things like that. Uh, but the town has not embraced the beast like many other local cryptids. I did read, however, that you can get some alcohol named after it. There's a locally brewed Beast of Bray Road beer, and there's also something called the Silver Bullet Special at a local bar.
Whoa.
Ah, interesting.
There are a couple movies, I think, though, made about the Beast of Bray Road. I mean, one of them we've been talking about all day, the documentary, The Bray Road Beast from Seth Breedlove, Small Town
Mm-hmm.
Monsters.
I mean, as far as I know, that's if it's not the only documentary, it's probably the best documentary on the
Mm-hmm.
topic. uh, and can I just say, let me geek out about this one a little bit. This is my favorite one. This is my besides the latest Mothman Legacy that they just released. The Bray Road Beast is by far my favorite documentary by them. It's just got such a cool aesthetic, and it's like kind of really creepy at times with the
Mm-hmm.
artwork and stuff, and the soundtrack is really good. And I don't,
It was really
dude,
funny.
the open. Well,
It was funny because I was watching it with my headphones on in my kitchen, and there's a shot when they're talking about some cattle mutilations and dead animals and things like that. They show like a clip of just like intestines,
yeah,
and I literally went, "Bleh!" And my roommate was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "A documentary about werewolves."
yeah, it's awesome, dude. And the opening, I mean, where it's got the full moon, and then they come inside this little room, and it's candlelight, and you just see this book. It says The Bray Road Beast, and it opens up, and it's like a storybook. I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
this
that
is
was
it,
tight.
dude. Yeah, dude. I don't. That was awesome, dude. I don't-
We highly recommend it here.
Highly recommend. I think there is a movie that came out in like 2005, 2007.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the Beast of Bray Road. It's by Asylum, where I don't know if you know that production company.
I don't. Or why, Jasmine? You seem to know them.
I know them because I think Alex has talked about them before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They're
really?
they're the people who put out mostly mockbusters. So
Mm.
they're the guys behind. Oh man, you like Transformers? Get ready for Transmorphers.
Oh no.
Oh, did I say someone liked uh, Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim? Well, we got Atlantic Rim for you.
Oh, I see.
Oh, you liked I Am Legend? Well, what about He is Mythic?
Is that for real?
Yeah. So, and every movie they have, because they have like one set under their belt that they love to show off, and it's like a submarine set. So there's always a chance in every Asylum movie there's gonna be people on a submarine for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so they did. I'm looking at the Internet Movie Database, and it's like, oh, it's a fun indie horror flick. It's a by the numbers werewolf flick. Totally a good asylum flick. Man, people use that word a lot.
Jeez, weird.
Yeah, oh, my favorite is someone said, I'm moving to Wisconsin after seeing this movie. it's right for the taking. We got to have a good Beast of Bray Road movie.
We're gonna do British Werewolf in America or British Werewolf in Elkhorn. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, British Werewolf in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that alliteration is better.
Yeah, British Werewolf in Wisconsin. Yeah,
And then,
or
oh,
Welsh Werewolf in Wisconsin.
yeah, and they stop him by shoving his mouth full of cheese.
Oh my god.
Then we could have him, the main characters, going through, walking along Bray Road at night, singing Santa Lucia. And then they get viciously attacked by a werewolf.
They get viciously murdered and maimed. Yeah. Oh man, we did it. We've done an episode about American Werewolf in London, and I just rewatched it the other day,
Oh,
and it's just like, oh man, that movie's so wild
It is.
because it's great because it's just like the movie's like, listen, it's in the title. There's an American werewolf. He's in London. We're gonna get you to that point, but leading up to that point is gonna be some of the craziest things you've ever seen.
It's so true.
It's highly recommend that movie. I think it's on Netflix right now or Amazon Prime.
oh, is it?
Yeah, go peep it.
Go peep it. But I mean, that's all I have. I mean,
Same.
I was gonna say this is since we're in the pop culture area, this is something unrelated but kind of interestingly somewhat ties into the Beast of Bray Road if we're looking at it from a werewolf. So this past weekend, we're in October as we record this, so it's spooky season, everybody. And I watched the movie Annabelle Comes Home.
No.
I don't know if you guys seen that one?
I'm very
No.
particular when it comes to scary movies. Annabelle is one that I won't watch.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Eli?
No, I have not seen any of the Annabelle movies.
Mhm.
I've heard they're bad.
They're
But okay,
they're
let me put it
wild.
this way. I'm a big fan of The Conjuring. I really like it.
Mhm.
And, I think they're good movies. But Annabelle, I heard that they're pretty bad, and it makes me like not want to watch them because I don't want them to like affect my way of viewing The Conjuring.
Mhm. I can definitely feel that, and I will say, this is gonna be a tangent, but we're gonna have fun with it. The Conjuring, the first one's really really good. Second one's pretty good, but it gets a little out of hand at the end.
Mhm.
But then after that, they just go off the rails, and the Annabelle movies are insane. The Nun movies very insane.
Oh my goodness, The Nun.
Yeah, but
See, I watched The Nun before watching The Conjuring 2.
oh man.
So by the time I watched The Conjuring 2 and The Nun shows up, I couldn't take it seriously. I was
Oh,
like,
I mean, spoilers, everyone, but you mean when she reaches final boss mode at the end? It's
yeah.
like, all right, we've dealt enough damage to the nun. She's gone into turbo mode. She's shooting out tentacles. She's got a giant mouth for a chest now. All right, everyone, power up your weapons. We gotta go full high jump, hit her 3 times in the head, and use a rocket launcher before we can get to the end credits.
Is that what happens in the movie?
Might as well. But
Yeah.
no.
It reaches a point where it just hits like because the first Conjuring's so good at being so subtle and just so
Mhm.
a real horror movie, if you will, a genuine good structured horror movie. And then the second one does that until the end, where then just it goes off to the insane like Evil Dead territory.
Yeah, but without the charm.
Yeah.
But as you were saying, Annabelle Comes Home.
Annabelle Comes Home. I will actually say, if you like the Conjurings, the good parts, check out Annabelle Comes Home. It's not bad. But there's a part where, because the Warrens have their famous room filled with all these cursed items that they have under protection,
Mhm.
and this is a small spoiler for the movie, but a character goes in there and they're like, oh, wow, look at all these items. I'm going to touch everything.
Oh.
But one of the things she touches is this old bound book that just simply says in old-timey letters, "The Black Shuck."
Oh,
And it's got a picture of like a scary looking medieval dog on two legs on the cover. And then
Ugh.
and then later a werewolf like monster kind of appears.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. So it was kind of funny. I was watching this movie and out of nowhere with a little callback to one of our old episodes, The Black Shuck.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I guess if we're touching a little bit back into explanations, Linda Godfrey in her book, The Beast of Bray Road, talks about how what do they call them? The devil hounds are a possible explanation for the Beast of Bray Road.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I remember, Black Shuck wasn't bipedal, right?
No, he was always
No.
like a big four-legged, like scary dog.
Interesting. But yeah, all right. Geez, I mean, th- does anyone have anything else they would
No,
like to add?
I think we've covered it as much as we can for tonight. I mean, obviously there's plenty of other sightings that you can find online and
Mm-hmm.
more things that you can look into, but I think for today we've covered everything that we've wanted to.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I want to find out more about the Conjuring series, how do I talk to the man in charge, Alexander Daikaiju?
Well, you go on Twitter and you say to James Wan, "Hey, what gives?" The Nun movie seemed more like a vampire movie.
Low key. But
But
Alex, how do I find you?
if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AlexDaikaiju. That's Alex DAIKAIJU. On my Instagram, I post a lot of monster and cryptid related artwork, so be sure to check that out, especially with this spooky season going on. And my sources that I used today, I used, of course, the one and only Dreadnought Wikipedia. I
Ooh-wee.
used, oh yeah, I used well, this page was a bunch of BS, so I'll say it right now. Legendsofamerica.com. They got a lot of crap on that page, so avoid them. And I used roadtrippers.com. Plan an epic trip with the award-winning Road Trippers app.
Hey, not a sponsor.
Yeah, don't listen to them. They're a bunch of crap as well. But if you want to hear about something that's not crap and actually golden and perfect, check out Jasmine May With.
Oh, whoa.
Thanks. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. My name is the same on both. Jasmine Maywith, JasmineMaewith. I did also use Road Trippers and Legends of America for my research today. In addition to that, I used pbs.org, lindagodfrey.com, Destination America's YouTube channel with a clip from Monsters and Mysteries in America. I also looked at Monsters and Critics, and I watched The Bray Road Beast, a documentary by Seth Breedlove from Small Town Monsters.
Indeed.
Ooh, very nice. Good sources there. And the man, the myth, the puppet master himself who pulls all the strings of Cryptid Campfire like a big, gross Halloween spider, Eli Watson.
Oh, I don't want to be a spider.
It's the
Can I be an octopus?
It's the Metamorphosis 2 by Kafka. This time he's an octopus.
Okay, I'll take it. Hello, everyone. You can find me at the Eli Watson on Instagram. And my sources for today have basically all been mentioned. So Linda Godfrey's site, lindagodfrey.com. I have Lee Hample's hayfields.com. Beast of Bray Road by Linda Godfrey. I highly recommend that book. If you if you want to get into this, that is the book to get. There's so much in this book. I didn't even talk about 95% of what was in this book. So check it out. Anyways, and the Small Town Monsters documentary, The Bray Road Beast, which is available for streaming now on Amazon Prime. So if you got Amazon Prime, it was just Prime Day, so if you signed up and you got it,
Yeah,
check
gotta
it,
get it. Love it.
peep it, or you can go to their website and purchase it. Show your support. And if you are a fan of Cryptid Campfire and would like to follow us on the social medias, you can do that. Follow at Cryptid Campfire on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are on all three. And if you still can't get enough of us, you can check out our website, cryptidcampfire.com. I do blog posts occasionally, and all of our episodes are on there in case you're struggling to find them. And if you still can't get enough of us and you're just like, oh, please take my money,
Give me
go to
more.
Patreon. Go to Patreon, and for $5 a month, you get access to at least 2 exclusive episodes every month, as well as a unique wallpaper designed by none other than Alexander Daikaiju.
It's true.
It is true. And with that, I mean, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, thank you. May I just throw in, if you go to the fancy Cryptid Campfire website, we got fancy T-shirts there.
Indeed. Oh, and don't forget, another way to reach us is by our email, info@cryptidcampfire.com. I try to respond to them. I've been getting like a bunch of fan emails lately, so it might take me a day or two to get back to you, but I will get back to you. All right. With that, I thank everyone for listening.
Yeah.
As do I.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week with something even crazier.
Yes, if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. All right. Goodbye.
Bye. Woo.
This podcast is a part of Straight Up Strange Productions. Discover more shows like this one at Straight Up Strange